Welcome to the M26 Fit podcast, where we explore the connection between having a strong mind and a strong body. Today's guest is Ben Maher, entrepreneur, innovator, sports psychologist, and founder of Full Spectrum Education. It's actually our first guest, flying up especially to be here today from Melbourne. Welcome to the show, mate.
Thanks, mate. Thanks for having me today.
All right. Let's just jump in. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Ben. Childhood, sport, education, just a summary.
Sure, mate. Yeah, no, 100%. So I was a Brizzy boy, born and bred, 1987, giving away my age there. So, anyway. Look, grew up in the southern corner of Brisbane, went to school down there. Look, school for me was a bit of a challenge. Some of my best mates will attest to that, which is probably what brought about a lot of my passions to this day. I really think that a lot of my passions were formed in high school. I went to a public school down the southern corner of Brisbane, and mum and dad had a lot of aspirations for me, but I don't know if I necessarily had them for myself at that age. And anyway, graduated high school, went to university, like some of us do, some of us don't. That's fine. Graduated in 2000 and. What year was it? Let me wind back the clock there. 2010, graduated as a teacher. So 2011, started practicing as a teacher. Did my Masters of Education. Did another Master's degree after that in Ed Psych as well. And then, basically from there on, I started my career from 2011 onwards as I was studying as a teacher. And I suppose from 2011 to 2023, I just put my head down and focused on the journey of trying to get better every day. And, in terms of my upbringing, my parents were together their whole life. I've got a little sister. She's 25. Feels like my big sister sometimes, if you know what I mean. But no, look, it's all good there. As I said, thanks again for having me on the show today.
Mate, no dramas at all. I want to jump into mindset because I know that obviously the success that you've reached are both in business and in education. Obviously a sports psychologist as well, so pretty clever lad. So how would you describe your mindset?
Yeah, look, I think mindset's a very powerful tool because if you don't wake up every day wanting to give it your best, you really may struggle. And obviously, when you're talking about education and health, which is obviously what our brand's about, and obviously, you're educating people on health with your brand, I think it's just very important to acknowledge that you will make mistakes, but your goal is to improve each and every day. And if you can have that mantra and people around you sort of see that, I think that you'll end up doing better than most.
Yeah.
In terms of improvement, and I want to use that word, it really is about improvement. So whether it's your job, whether it's sport, whether it's your family, whether you're a new dad, a new mum, you're managing grief, just really try and work on improvement. And so you talk about mindset. Yep. If you can have a good mindset around improvement, generally you'll do okay.
So a good growth mindset where you're just getting that little bit better every single day.
Yeah, and it's the old adage of, don't be closed to ideas. Be mindful of what you're saying and make sure you improve every day around that, because everyone talks about above the line and below the line behaviours.
Yes.
And I just think it's really important to acknowledge that we will slip below the line, and it's how quickly we can get back above the line. And, in your role as a mentor to people in the fitness industry as well as the, education and all walks of life, I think you're probably better equipped than me to acknowledge that, if you can have that positive energy, how that's going to translate to people.
Yeah, 100%. And then now, when did you kick off Full Spectrum Education?
So Full Spectrum Education, as I was sort of telling you off camera, was sort of born out of a bit of a personal relationship, and as a lot of good things are in this life, which is why I encourage people to focus on improvement, because it was formed in 2016, and I met a gentleman from a local school here. I will name it, Brisbane Boys College, fantastic school. Thank you to all the staff at Brisbane Boys College. And we formed a company that was sort of on the back of all the support of the all the staff and parents and everyone from that school. And it was formed in 2016, and we became an official company at the beginning of 2017. And now we've gone from being just me driving around saying I'll teach for food to now we're a national organisation across the country, and we've got roughly 150 staff in 5 states.
Wow, 5 states.
It's busy.
So that's a lot of staff.
Yeah,
because I believe you don't just do children and students, but you also do adults that might be doing further education as well. Is that right?
That was it's a really good question. I do love answering it. We have we teach everything from 3 years of age right through to PhD level, so the top of the tree. And we love, don't get me wrong, teaching 3-year-olds is a lot of fun as well. We do a lot of it. We do a lot of pre-prep, and then with our adults, you might say, well, what type of adults do you get? We get everyone from wanting to work on a PhD to get their building certificate to whatever it may be. And what we do is we customize our experience to their journey, and that's sort of how we do it. So again, going back to that mindset statement you made earlier, it really is all about improvement.
Yeah.
And helping our people, whether adults, adolescents, children, preschool, just improve.
I didn't realise that. I got the impression you'd sort of start with, a bit of tutoring and a bit of help with the kids when they're getting into high school. I didn't realise it all goes all the way down to 3-4-year-olds that need a little bit of help as well. That's interesting.
Absolutely. No, look, we definitely, and look, the goals for the pre-preps are very specific, and quite often you'll meet parents that are very anxious about their children starting school.
Right.
And that's a wonderful gift to be able to give a family, to take away some of that anxiety around, beginning with school, because I think it's extremely important to acknowledge that until you become a parent, you don't know what it feels like. And for those who know me, I'm not a parent yet. But what I want to do acknowledge is that the anxiety that we see and the anxiety that we help take away, that's what it's really about for us. And I'm really proud of the team and what we do. So for me, that's why we do, prior to school years, to help get the parents ready. Don't get me wrong, we're not driving kids, academically extremely hard. We're more focusing on that social and emotional well-being. And like we said from the start of the show, the improvement piece, just improving. Just
getting the kids to get that little bit better every single day in whatever it is that they're working on.
Yeah, and I think that whether you're, 4 or 44, if you can focus on that, you will have a very productive life. A big shout out to Mr. Patrick Trouse, one of my staff. I think you know him as well from ice hockey. He's an avid cyclist, and I've got him and I have a little wager at the moment that I need to be more strict with my training. So I think there's always people in your life, whether they're friends, family, colleagues, that if you reach out, they will help you improve.
Yep.
And but not in a negative way, in a fun way.
Yeah.
And that's what we pride ourselves in at the organisation.
So just on the sports psych, personally, is that something that you work with particular athletes, or does that come back into the school era as well?
Absolutely, and I'm really glad you said that. We work with athletes all around the country. We work with different rugby league clubs. We work with swimming organisations. We basically work with athletes, help them set their mindset and help them achieve their goals. And look, I think it's fair to say that athletes, like anybody, when wanting to achieve something in life, people have a lot to say. So we help the athletes minimise the noise, and we help them stay focused on their goal. So we quite often coin a term, be better. So with our Achieve program at Full Spectrum Education and Full Spectrum Health, whether it be we're helping the athletes with their studies or with their mental preparations for their sport, we make sure that the young men and women are just improving every day, but improving strategically. So we don't want our young footy players thinking about their maths exam on the field. We want them performing and maximising their potential.
Yeah.
We don't want our young swimmers thinking about, how they were late on Monday morning. We want them doing those little micro skills well, those soft skills well. Focused, attentive, so that it feeds back into their passion, their sport, whatever it may be that they're going for. We've even worked with people in the arts before, professional ballet dancers, things like that. Because as, obviously I'm, those who know me will back me up. I'm not a fantastic dancer, but I will say that like the dedication that I've seen the ballet dancers have to put in, I think they dance up to 40 to 50 hours per week. And then to add a study load on top of that, with no real exception to their expectations, meaning the institution still expect what they expect. That for me is pretty powerful.
That's inspirational. That's a lot of work.
Yeah, look, I don't want to sound cliche and just sound like I'm saying it for the camera, but really the kids are inspirational. And you know what? We're both adults, and any adult that'll reach out for help academically, socially and emotionally and say, I need help. We all know the stigma around male mental health, around female mental health even transgender mental health, all of that umbrella. No matter where you go, as an adult, there's a stigma. I think I want to say that I think all of our adults that are with us, they're very brave individuals. It takes a lot of courage to ask for help.
Yeah, 100%. I reckon it's great. Stick your hand up when you need a hand.
100%. And also thank you to the team and people like yourself for being a positive energy. I'll share with you a quote from the meeting this morning we had. One of my staff said, there's a lot of negativity in the world and we need to keep focused and be a positive influence. And that's really what we're about. Like, grades will go up and down. People's weight will go up and down with health. It's about being making a positive impact.
Yep. And that continuous improvement, I love it.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, and we jump into the M26 in 26, those 26 questions in 26 minutes.
Why am I so excited?
Okay, well, it's goals and aspirations, Ben. What's that look like for you in 2023 and beyond?
Okay, so 2023 and beyond. So I guess this is as good a place as any to announce that all going well. We have a new CEO starting at Full Spectrum Education and Health very, very soon, Mr. Matthew Bishop. He's starting on the 29th of May.
Exciting.
It is very exciting. I hope Matthew's doesn't mind me announcing it here, but it is very exciting. Those people who know Matthew, he has a very distinguished career, and I'm incredibly humbled to have him coming on to, I don't want to refer to Full Spectrum as a pirate ship, but leading the ship, so to speak, is going to be fantastic. And I guess what I want to talk about that is that will help Full Spectrum 2023 and beyond make a great impact nationally. Really make an impact in schools with our strategic partnerships. And we have some exciting things around the corner to do with the upcoming Olympics in Brisbane, which will be announced very soon.
Fantastic. Congratulations, Matt. I do know Matt is a legend, so I think you've done well to secure him.
Yeah. I'm very excited to work with him, and especially that Canadian accent. It's gonna go. It's not a Swedish accent, but it's still good.
It's great. So the next question is around the smartest person you've sat in a room with, and I'm just sitting here now, Ben, and I think with all your MBAs and sports psychology degrees, mate, maybe you're the smartest person that sat in this room.
Mate, listen, thank you for the kind words, but I think that definitely the person I've sat in a room with would be I'd probably have to say Richard Branson. So when he came to Brisbane, I'm sure the viewers will remember a few years ago, he came to Brisbane. He was absolutely sensational. He was insightful. He was patient.
So what was the context of that visit, Ben? Was it a conference?
Yeah, so the reason I was pausing that is I want to elaborate. He was obviously knowledgeable, but he was extremely considerate of people around him and making sure they understood what he was trying to get across to them. And so the purpose of the visit was, I think it was more of a motivational tour,
right,
where he was, getting the Richard Branson brand out there at that time. It was just before COVID. I think he was in Brisbane. Would have been, I think it was 2020 or 2019, but it was absolutely sensational. And and another person I have a lot of respect for is my actual performance coach, Mr. Michael Crossland. He is one of the most, you said before, I know you said intelligent, But Michael's obviously very intelligent, but I want to use the word courageous.
Yep.
Anyone who can beat stage 4 cancer and then live their life motivating others. I mean, I know there's a lot of people out there who have had their own battles with health, but to do that and then spend your life serving and impacting others, that's pretty inspiring.
What a champion. Amazing. The most important lesson that you think you've ever learned, Ben?
The best part of learning is to always make mistakes, because if you make mistakes, you will improve. That would be it for sure. I know that's a really teacher answer to say. All the people who love their teachers in high school probably their ears are twanging to that one. But look, jokes aside, I think that would really be it for me, because if you don't try anything, if you try something new, you're guaranteed to make mistakes.
Yeah.
And that's what it's about.
But having that courage to have a go and to be prepared to make that mistake versus playing it safe and not really learning too much.
Yeah, I think that having the courage and also humility. So I think that talent...
It's a good word.
Yeah, and 2 other words I want to use here, I think they're equally linked with that, is talent and resilience. I think if you have talent and you're resilient, I think you'll go very well in this world. And that's actually from our head of health, Mr. Jonathan Baker. So, Jonathan, if you're listening, mate, happy 40th. And thanks again for that. Another great one-liner.
Resilience, that's a great word. And, yeah, certainly appropriate. Definition of discipline for you?
If I'm honest,
that'd be good.
The favourite part of my week is working with athletes, because they've found a way to chase their dreams in a manner that displays discipline. I think that when we start telling ourselves we're less, that's just not okay. We need to address that voice and where that voice is coming from. And look, I don't want to sound like a motivational speaker here, because I'm absolutely not that. But what I do want to say to you is, if that voice is in your head, address why it's there and get rid of it.
Yeah.
Because everyone has roughly the same amount of time on this earth, and we need to make sure we're living out, you know what, I'm going to say it, living our best life.
Yes. Yeah. Do you find with the athletes when you're working with them, is there something consistent that comes up that with most of them that you work with or you address?
Absolutely. I'm really glad you asked me that. Self-doubt. Yeah, self-doubt. Silencing the self-doubt, you know. And if you can work with athletes and you can get them to silence that voice.
And believe in themselves.
Because here's the thing. They already know they're talented. But it's when that voice creeps in and goes, but can you do it? That's the voice you have to silence and take to the next level.
All right. The greatest decision that you've ever made?
I think I know what I'm going to say. I've got one. Marrying my wife.
Yeah.
There you go.
Good answer.
I think I saw married men say that, don't we? No, look, marrying my wife, and whenever you, Magnus, I know you're a very hard worker. You're passionate about all of your projects, all of your brands, all of everything that you do. And I think that whenever you're passionate, people want to know why. And so the reason I'm so passionate about what we do at Full Spectrum Education and Health is because of impacting families, but also impacting my own family. So I think the best decision I ever made was making a decision to impact my family while I get the privilege of impacting families all around Australia.
Yeah. You just got married last year, or was it this year?
That was last year, last August. Yep. It was a very special day, and look, I'm a lucky man.
Yeah. How long you guys been going out for?
So we are actually celebrating 5 years this weekend. Yeah. There's actually a quick funny story. Do we have time for me to tell it?
We do.
We do. All right. So as you know, when you've been with your partner for a little while, sometimes those dates get a little bit murky. So as I shared with you off camera, our 5 years, so I thought, was this weekend. Turns out it's actually next month. So we're getting it early and celebrating our 5 years together. So
how good.
Yes. So, but no, very excited to be together with my wife for 5 years and almost married. In a few months, we'll be married for a year.
Yeah. All right. Now, I know you are a very, very busy man and you're on and off an aeroplane almost every day. How would you describe your life right now in 3 words?
3 words I could use to incorporate into my life. Okay. For me.
Or you describe your life right now in 3 words.
Okay. All right. You're pinning me down. I like this. You're a great host. I like this. Okay. All right. Passion, privilege, resilience.
Okay.
That'd be the 3.
Yeah.
You're going to ask me more questions about those words, aren't you? No, look, that'd be the 3, and I'll tell you why. I think without resilience, those other 2 don't work. And without the other 2, there's no point having resilience.
Yeah.
So you really need passion to be the driver of all.
Yep.
Because, if you're doing something you don't enjoy, and this is the one, if you take one thing out of this podcast today, everybody, please do not do a day of work in your life that you're not passionate about, in terms of build yourself a base so you can be living in a state of passion every day. Yep. And more often than not, you'll be successful.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And it's interesting you mentioned the word drive there, because that leads us into our next question. What drives you and what gives you inspiration?
So quite often when I talk about education, hour after hour, day after day, people assume my why would be education. My why is actually to help and impact others. I'll be very authentic on this podcast and say that I'm not good with trauma. I struggle with death. I struggle with, actually there's a young man I grew up with who actually passed away in the recent days, and I unfortunately found out about it on the plane last night on social media, and that part of life I really struggle with. So for me, I would say my impactful part of my life is about helping people, serving others, making an impact. Now, if that's education, fantastic. If that's health, fantastic. If that's buying someone's fuel that can't afford it, fantastic. For me, it's about making an impact and
making a difference.
Yeah, making a difference, but also
positive difference.
Just improvement.
Yeah.
Improving someone, improving yourself, and not being afraid to stand up.
Yeah, no, I appreciate your honesty there, Ben. And do you have a favourite saying?
Geez, that's a tough one.
What do you find yourself? Do you find yourself saying something in particular, like regularly?
Well, I'm going to coin an oldie but a goodie. If you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all. I've never actually wondered why I've always wondered why it's necessary for some people to say that extra thing. So, like, as whether we're athletes, whether we're professionals, whether we're, just having a coffee on a Sunday morning, shouldn't be that challenging just to present the best version of yourself and try and improve.
Yeah.
So for me, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all.
It's interesting, because that's what my father was one of his sayings to me as a kid growing up. So then at times you just say nothing. It's like, why are you being quiet, Magnus? Well, I've got nothing positive to say right now. So what pisses you off, Ben?
Yeah, that's a direct question, and I like it because there's really only one answer, and it's misrepresentation.
Okay.
I know you're an avid cyclist and you're a very passionate athlete in many ways, and I think that there's a lot of people in sport that do a lot of damage to kids because they misrepresent themselves. They misrepresent themselves as having knowledge. They misrepresent themselves as having a passion for kids. I think for me, my disdain is around the misrepresentation.
Yep.
So the quickest way we can turn that around is by making an impact and helping people improve themselves.
And being authentic yourselves.
Yeah, being real and being okay to say, we made a mistake, but this is how we're going to fix it.
Yeah. It's interesting. You're preempting all the next question somehow, Ben. What are you passionate about?
Look, passion for me is really about, like I said earlier, it's simply about making an impact, and it's about helping people. I think that there is so much good in this world. You just have to be really focused enough to look.
Yeah.
And I've looked at some of the guests you've had on the show, and they're all out there doing their, really striving and working and being passionate. And if you can follow some of their leads, guys. Like, you're going to go well, because ultimately that's what life's about.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly. No, exactly. Now we've got a deep question. They're sharing the major setback or challenge that you've had in your life, and what got you through it, Ben?
Definitely my dad's death 2 years ago. Dad died 2 years ago, pretty much today, actually, almost to the day.
Do you mind me asking how old he was?
Yeah, absolutely. So Dad would have been, 2 years ago was, everyone's going to test my maths abilities now. So 2 years ago was 2021. So Dad was born in 53. So he would have been about 67 or so. And look, to be honest, Dad was in good health until he wasn't. Always told me he was going to live till he was 90. And I think that, geez, we got very deep, didn't we? Very fast. I'll say it like this. Always be honest with your loved ones. Always be authentic, and don't misrepresent your health. That's one lesson I'll take out of that really tough experience, because I think somewhere along the line, Dad was misrepresenting that. But what it taught me was, and what I took out of it was, for those people who listen to this podcast that are religious, basically what I want to say to them is, either my dad could be up there and watching down on this podcast right now and think, oh my God, son, just be quiet. Or he's, resting well and, called it a day. But, when your father passes at 66, 67, I think it's extremely important to realise the gift he gave you, the gift that my mother gave me, and then live the best version of my life that I can.
Yeah, using all those gifts.
Absolutely. And look, I know I've said it a lot today, so I don't want anyone to think it's cliche, but literally trying to focus on passion and block out the negativity is absolutely the key to having a fun and exciting life.
Yeah, blocking out that negativity, and by the sound of it in that psych space as well, is something that we all deal with, and trying to get that out of the road and fuel the passion and feel the positive attitude.
Yeah, and look, even as you asked me the question, you can feel that weight coming on your shoulders, and you want to make sure that you're really striving for that next thing. So for me, what I want to say to anyone who's suffered a loss or is managing grief, take it day by day. Focus on being the best version of yourself. Don't beat yourself up for having a bad day, and then try and have a better day the next day.
Well said. Now, you mentioned that you've got a performance coach, and essentially, what you're doing to a degree, I guess, with some of the students would be coaching. Who's been your best ever coach and why?
Definitely, without a doubt, Michael Crosland, for sure, without a shadow of a doubt. And this isn't me giving him a plug on a podcast. What this is me acknowledging the hard work and passion that he's put into, and he puts into all of his clients. What he cares about is you being the best version of yourself, but also acknowledging when you have moments where you need to be better, and whether it's health, education, the workplace, whatever it is, showing up, and when you dip below that line, getting above the line as fast as possible.
Yeah, so be better.
Be better, and be better for you, no one else. That's really important. I think we were chatting off camera earlier about being better, and I was explaining to you how I use that framing with some of our students. But what I want to say is, it's be better for you, not for anybody else.
So what do you think are some of the attributes that make a good coach?
Passion, direction, and clarity, for sure. If you can tell that they implement their strategies in their own life, and you can see them reflecting onto you, I think that you'll be very engaged as a client, no matter who your coach is.
Yeah.
And I think that if your coach isn't doing that, you really need to ask yourself, whether it's a sports coach, a performance coach, whether you're seeking, help for a challenge you're having in your life, whatever it is, you need to make sure that your coach is invested in you and has that clarity and direction in their messaging.
Yeah, okay. Good. Success habits. What are the little things that you do every day that you think has made you who you are today?
So I know everyone sort of comments on this at the moment, but I think morning routines are very, very important. So having the ability to wake up in the mornings, have a health routine, acknowledge what you're grateful for. And I don't mean grateful for like winning the lotto or, you know, having a nice car or whatever like that. I mean things like waking up next to your wife in the morning. You know, if you have kids, getting to come home to your kids on a Friday afternoon. These are the sort of things that matter. This is why we do what we do. We don't do what we do for that paycheck. That paycheck helps us make an impact for those people that really matter.
Would you mind sharing your morning routine? What's that look like?
Absolutely. So this morning I was up at 3:30, went to the gym, did a quick circuit, and then I sent my coach what I was grateful for on the plane, and then flew up to Brisbane. Had a quick breakfast at the airport after a short fasting session, and then dove into the day.
Wow.
So that's pretty much me. That was me this morning. You got me on a good morning.
So just on that, so I know that there's been a previous guest and we chatted about the 5 a.m. club, and one thing that he really reiterated was it's okay if you want to be that guy that gets up at 5 a.m., but to win the morning, I think was the expression he used. But in order to win the morning, you've got to win the night before. So what time do you go to bed when you know you're going to get up at 3:30 in the morning?
Look, I think I'm going to say it like this. I think work-life balance is an individualized pursuit. I think that you could have 10 hours sleep and feel well-rested, or you can have 10 hours sleep and feel tired. I really think it comes down to an individualized perspective on how you want to lead your life. What I think it comes down to is when you get home, make it quality time, right? So it's quality, not quantity, that matters. Yeah. So when you are at home, be at home, be in the room, be present. So in answer to your question, you know, I landed, you know, what was last night? So when I was in Melbourne yesterday, so I went to bed at about probably 10 p.m.-ish or so. And then I woke up this morning, as I said, at about 3:30. So I'd sort of I try and average between that 6 to 8 hours. But don't get me wrong, like everyone listening, when I get a chance to sleep in, I definitely make the most of it.
Yeah. So was there an opportunity for a bit of a nap on the plane?
Look, that's the problem with Wi-Fi. You get
connected.
You get sucked in. No, look, but I genuinely, I'm working on meditation at the moment. I've, you know, my coach, Magnus Olson, will tell you that the journey has taken a bit of a up and a down curve in terms of my consistency. But for those people who listen to this podcast who are into meditation, I just would tell you that it is a fantastic thing to do to slow your mind down and to really focus on being present with those around you.
Yeah. You'll have to listen to our last podcast was Caroline Bird, and she's very, very much into the meditation and also the breath work, so that might be a good one for you.
Yeah, well, look, hey, if you can get an introduction.
Absolutely. So where is Ben Maher in 5 years from now?
Well, Matt Bishop, our new CEO, will be working. Will be working very passionately on the company, and with any luck, I'll be traveling the world, expanding Full Spectrum Group by then, Full Spectrum Education and Health, helping us make an impact.
Wow.
Internationally.
So you're looking to go internationally?
Yeah, we do have some opportunities we're exploring in Singapore that we're looking at, and I'm off to New Zealand on Thursday. We're actually sponsoring Justin Hodges. He's got a charity fight next Thursday in Auckland. We're actually sponsoring his fight, so big shout out to Justin Hodges from for the Broncos. Justin, hope you get the KO and fight well, mate. Fight well.
Wow, I didn't realise he'd gotten into boxing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I actually spoke with him yesterday, and Justin, hope you don't mind me sharing this, mate, but here we are. He explained to me why he does this, and he does it because he feels like he can give back to the community and use some attributes that he has from his footy days to make an impact on the community. And obviously, there's different levels of community in New Zealand, highs and lows, just like there is here. And I think he's just excited to make an impact. And I know he really cares about the community.
Yeah, no, that's exciting. Do you know how old he is,
mate? I think he's late 30s. He'd have to be late 30s. Justin, if you are younger, my apologies. I think he'd be late 30s by now.
Yeah, okay. So you touched on it before, but obviously the degree of busyness, and we sort of touched a bit on what a typical day might look like. What's a typical week look like in your life?
Okay, so I'll keep it short. Mondays and Tuesdays at the moment are in Melbourne. So I'm working away in Melbourne with the team in Melbourne.
So you're actually in Melbourne for 2 days straight.
Yeah, I know. It's pretty impressive. Hey, the wife. I got to keep the wife happy. Big shout out to Mel. Wednesday is Sydney, working with sports teams. Thursday is back in Melbourne. And Friday's back in Sydney. And then either Saturday or Sunday is usually split between Brisbane and Melbourne.
So you spend a lot of time on a plane.
The average has been about 6 to 7 flights per week at the moment. And there was a week where we were exploring some sports partnerships the other week where we did 10 flights in a week, but that was an unusual week.
Wow, mate, that is impressive, mate. Well done. The frequent flyer miles are hopefully paying dividends for you.
Oh, I think we all know they would be, but the one thing I want to touch on there is I couldn't do what we do without the entire team at Full Spectrum. So a big shout out to the executive management and all of our staff. Thank you for everything that you guys do, because I wouldn't be on any planes without you. So thank you so much for all of that.
It's awesome giving them the recognition there, Ben. Well done.
Yeah, look, I think, Magnus, you know this as well. The only way forward is with a team.
Yep.
Whether it's your family, your sports team, your friends.
Exactly.
It's all about a team.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. And the best advice that you've ever received?
Be authentic and don't be afraid to be passionate. That would be the best advice I've been given. Simply because it's about chasing your dreams and not worrying about, I wouldn't say upsetting people, but maybe people misunderstanding what your vision is about, but being true to it and going after it each and every day.
Yeah, no, I love that. Your biggest regret, do you have any?
Yeah, when I was younger, not being true to myself and having a big mask up, and this is obviously a health podcast and focusing on, people being the best version they can. And I just don't think I was the best version of myself. For a long time, I had a big shield up because I was worried about what people would think about me.
Do you mind if I ask what age you were when you were going through that?
Yeah, I'd probably say from about 16 to probably about 27. I'd probably say teenage years to, mid-20s.
Almost a decade.
Yeah, I definitely say, and this is why I allude to male mental health. The old saying, boys don't cry. That's the most disgusting thing I've ever heard. Some of those manly men I know cry. And what I want to say is if you're listening to this and you haven't been yourself even for a day in the last 12 months, day by day, improve so you can get out there and be the best version of yourself.
Fantastic. Now, I've restructured this question slightly. Normally I ask the definition of success, but I've changed it to the definition of greatness. What would your definition of greatness be?
Being able to do what you do every day and make an impact for the wider community. And that, I reckon I'll stop there. So do what you love every day and make a lasting impact. Because the way I say it, I say it casually off camera and I say, look, we're all here for the same amount of time. We might as well have a go.
Yeah, have a crack.
Have a crack.
Yep.
I don't want to steal your words, but have a crack.
Absolutely. Now, just want to touch on just sport and fitness. I know that you play ice hockey. Obviously, that's where we first met. Powerlifting, which I think's been parked because of some injury recently, and you're still playing hockey. Are there any other sport?
Yeah. I play ice hockey. Obviously, big shout out to all the boys in Melbourne and obviously in Brisbane. I love ice hockey. I played rugby league as a kid. I love my squash. I used to do swimming as an adolescent. That was fun. Bit of everything really. Powerlifting was definitely a passion for a long time. Spent a lot of time in the gym. Big shout out to Good Life. Thanks for supporting the dream there, guys. But no, Look, jokes aside, I think it's very important to have a sport as a part of your life, because if you don't, you're really going to struggle socially and emotionally to regulate yourself. Having an ability to disconnect from the world and just have a bit of me time is definitely, in the form of sport, is definitely very important.
And just there's a bit of a correlation between the sports psych stuff and as you know, obviously I play as well, and I love that whole sort of team sport and that environment and that connection that you get and the banter in the locker room. And how does that sort of play out, do you think, as in relation to that mental health as well?
Look, I think that having mates that you can just have a laugh with is definitely, what's the old saying? People don't do business with businesses, they do business with people. And that's because ultimately life is about people. Life is about connection. So the more connections you can make, genuine ones, the more enjoyable your life will be.
Exactly. What about any hobbies? Do you have any hobbies that you play with outside of sport?
Look, to be honest, and I don't want to sound cliche, but it's really is the truth. Maybe I'm getting a few grey hairs in my age, but I'm being in my wise old mid-30s now. Spending time with my family. It's when I'm down, my downtime now, I really love spending time with my family.
And how important is that? I think it's fantastic you do that.
Well, let's put it this way. If a meteor was about to hit the Earth, I don't think any of us would be going to work.
Yeah.
So I'll say it to you like that. I think that family, our own families, is what it's about. And if you can focus on your own family and how doing what you do will make an impact for your family, I think that everything will go well.
Yeah, no, well said. I agree. Just back on Full Spectrum quickly. So just as who gets benefit out of it, and what would you say to a student that was struggling with their studies?
Here's what I want to say to all the parents, students, or teachers even listening out there. Education is about an opportunity to improve. That's it. If you're experiencing any other feeling around education, please, I'm sure there'll be some handles at the end of this podcast. Contact us. We're happy to help you, because our motto pretty much sums it up. We don't tell students what to do. We teach them how to do it, which means, the amount of families have had contact me and say, my child hates maths, right? At the end of the day, mathematics is a fun, enjoyable subject. And what it's about is about igniting that passion, right, within the child. So, for me, that's the answer.
Yeah. And what are you really proud of?
Making an impact in someone's life that couldn't believe they could do something. They had a fixed mindset and helped them and being part of the journey to develop a growth mindset.
Yeah. I just thought then, if so, since you started Full Spectrum, do you find that you're making a much bigger impact than you were back when you were just a teacher?
Look, the difference between Full Spectrum and the mainstream classroom is that when you're one-on-one, your ability, your effect size to have an improvement is significantly greater. So you can have a tangible impact. So when you're in the room, your passion flows over. That would be my answer. So, like, in other words, group classrooms of 28, you do your best, you're passionate, you show up. But in terms of one-on-one, our first ever student with the company, he's now attending Yale University.
Wow.
Yeah. So he was a sports star here in Brisbane, had tremendous potential. Due to privacy reasons, I won't reveal his name, but he is at Yale University now, and he's actually rowing in the first boat over there.
That's impressive.
Yeah, look, he's he was a special young man. Whether he had us in his life or not, we just tried to play our small part in his journey, and we've had lots of students where we can say, we just try to make an impact, and that's my why. That's the company's why, and all of the people that are joining the team, they're proud to be a part of the organisation.
How old was he when you started working with him, and how old is he now that he moved over to Yale?
So he was in grade 9 in 2016, And so he would have graduated high school, 17, he was grade 10.
So you sort of started working with him when he was 14?
Yeah. So, grade 9, 14. And we stopped working with him partly through grade 12, mainly because he had sort of achieved what he needed to achieve with us. Everything was going great. Look, he had his ups and downs like anybody, but he stayed focused. And, look, I was just proud to be part of his journey, to be honest.
Great story. What makes you laugh?
Really crude humour. No, look, I do love comedy. Just a really good comedian. Like for those who love Carl Barron,
Yes.
can't go wrong.
I saw him live a couple of years ago. He's a classic.
Really?
Yeah, funny man.
What was your favourite part of his show? Like, what's something you took away?
I could not tell you exactly what I took away from it. I just remember that I just laughed and I laughed and I laughed. So it was up at the Sunshine Coast. It was just an incredible night. But
I love his observational humour. Like he says things and they're what we're all thinking.
Exactly. And then just the way that he grabs somebody out of the audience and, just off the cuff stuff. He's a very, very funny man, Carl.
100%.
Do you read much?
Yeah, look, I try to read 1 to 2 books a month.
Okay.
And that's simply for the fact that you don't know what you don't know until you don't know it.
Exactly.
So in other words, you need to identify where your gaps are so you can help them become strengths.
So what would be the 3 best or 3 top books that you've read?
So can I be honest with you? I've got one really stands out, if that's all right, if I can talk about that. It's on mindfulness, and it's literally called Mindfulness, okay? And it's about presenting the version of yourself that you want to present versus the version that is coming out. So for anyone out there who has a big personality or for maybe is really shy or feels like they don't always represent themselves in the way they want to, my advice is to read a book on mindfulness because there are so many strategies to help you execute your delivery and become, it's in terms of to the external world, who you want to be.
Yeah. Okay, I'll have to check that one out. I don't think that one's been part of my collection at this stage. So
next time we catch up, I'll make sure I pass you a copy.
Oh, perfect. And if you had a billboard on the M1, what would it say?
Impact.
Impact
in your own life, impact in others' lives. Don't be afraid to chase your dreams. Don't be afraid to, don't be afraid to fall.
Yeah.
Like we both play ice hockey, right? Some of the best moves we've both done is when we've fallen over at the end of it.
Yeah, exactly. It's like my coach says in ice hockey, if you're not falling over, you're not trying hard enough.
100%. Like at the end of the day, the worst that's going to is going to happen is you're going to make a mistake, and the best that's going to happen is you're going to succeed.
Yeah, exactly. A game-changing tip or advice that you've got for us?
The bigger you get, the more you do in this world, the more people will try and knock you down.
Yeah.
Block them out. Don't listen to them. And if you are struggling with that, get support because they are not correct. They are not right. And
so the haters increase as more you succeed.
Yeah, the old saying is, what is it? Haters going to hate, but they hate because they're just trying to cope. And that's their way of coping.
Yep.
So my advice to you is get out there and get after it. And that can be your version of, people talk about, getting people back and they put negative energy into things. And all I would say to them is just focus on being the best version of you and that'll minimize that effect.
Yeah. And so do you have any piece of advice that you typically give students that you'd be working with or athletes?
Absolutely. Before you react, count backwards from 3. 3, 2, 1. You can do it out loud. You can do it in your head. Just don't be afraid to pause before reacting. It's like in business. They always say, don't commit in the room. Okay? There's only one reason someone's trying to hurry you, and it isn't a good reason. So my advice is take your time, be prepared, and as I said just before, don't be afraid to slow things down.
2 great pieces of advice, mate. Thank you. And last question, finish this sentence. I believe.
In myself. So I think that's a really good message for every athlete, student, parent, teacher, human to hear on this podcast. Be the best version of yourself and believe in yourself.
What a great way to finish. Thank you so much for coming in, Ben, and flying up here, being our first guest from Melbourne, and all those tips and tricks. And you're inspirational, mate, and I love your passion. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me, mate. Thank you.
Cheers. Thank you for joining in on today's episode, and I hope this Strong Mind, Strong Body series empowers and inspires you. Make sure you've subscribed to our channel and leave a comment if you enjoyed today's podcast. You can also check out our website for more info about M26 Fit at m26fit.au.